Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Bingkai Suara podcast with me, Lucy. Listeners, have you ever had a heartbreak and then you try to heal from the emotion and the trauma? If so, you're on the right channel because today I have the American electronic music producer who will launch the newest album, Cope, that explores the emotional spectrum of healing and resilience. So this is Elephante. Hi, Wu.
Hello, Lucy. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here. By the way, happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I
this is your month.
yeah, I'm not a birthday person, so
Oh,
I honestly forgot that it was happening until like the day before, and then I was like, oh, it's thank you.
all right. So, in this month, you also want to release your new album, Cope. So, congratulations.
Thank you
It's
so
in two
much. I'm much
days.
more excited for that.
How do you feel about it?
I'm so excited. This is
Mm-hmm.
the first album I've ever made where I still like the music after I finished it. Everything I've made before I'm just totally sick of it, and I'm like, I don't want to. I've heard it too many times, and this is the first time where I am still very proud of it, still really like it, and so I'm just excited for everyone to hear it.
Yeah, I also really like the concept of your album, Cope, because it brings up the emotional spectrum of healing and resilience. That's quite interesting because you deliver the emotional story with your authentic electronic music. It's like a great exceptional fusion.
Thank you. Yeah, I grew up I grew up as a singer-songwriter, and writing songs and writing what's inside me has always been really important to me. And but I'm also a electronic music producer. I love playing shows. I love the party. I love the festivals. I love the energy that it has. And so it was a little scary to write these very intimate, personal stories, but then also set it to electronic music,
Mhm,
where so that part of me was really insecure about it. But I'm
mhm.
at the point in my life where I want to tell my story, and when I was writing songs, these were the songs that I was writing, and so I was like, you know what, I this is who I am, and so if
Oh,
people like it, then great, and if not, well, I couldn't have made anything different.
okay, so it's really you and it's really personal. I'm so excited to talk about the album more, but an interesting fact about you. You turns out graduated from Harvard University majoring in economics, right?
I did. That is correct.
Then, why did you suddenly decide to become a musician?
So I always loved music from when I was a kid. I was classically trained in piano. I
Mm,
taught myself guitar. I played in bands. I was writing songs and working in studios. And as a kid, as a young Asian boy in America, I didn't think it was possible to become a musician. It just wasn't a thing. There were no real examples of anyone who had done it. And so I was just like, oh, that's not something do Asians do, right? And I was fortunate enough to go to Harvard and get a good job coming out of college. And while I was there, I just was so miserable. I hated it and was so unhappy. I would leave work early to work on music. I
mhm.
installed my music software on my work computer. And I was just like, every waking moment where I didn't have to be at work, I was working on music as a way to try to enjoy my life. And after a year of that, I was finally at the point where I told myself, if you don't give this a shot, you're never going to forgive yourself. And so I quit my job, and I was like, I have to see what happens because I know that this path I'm on is not going to lead me to happiness. And I know what I love, and I'm going to try to figure out a way to make it work. And, through a lot of hard work, a lot of luck,
Mhm.
um, here I am. It's been a crazy journey.
Wow, it's really a big decision, but you've made it.
Yeah, thank you. In retrospect, looking back, it was crazy. I was like, I would not advise it. I was like, it, so many things had to go right for me, and if I knew how hard it was going to be, I never would have tried. But luckily, I was young and dumb, and
Yeah,
figured it out.
I'm so proud of you. By the way, you mentioned about classical music. So you started playing music in classical genre, right? And
Hmm.
then acoustic,
Yes. So
yeah,
I
and
was
then
classically trained on piano, and
mhm.
then I fell in love with like John Mayer and Damien Rice and a lot of rock and sort of singer-songwriter music, Jack Johnson, and so I wanted to learn how to play it on guitar. There was actually a girl that I had a crush on who didn't like me,
Okay.
and I thought to myself, well, if I learn to play the guitar, then maybe she'll like me. Um, she did not like me after that,
Oh,
but I
okay.
uh, but I fell in love with guitar, so there you go.
And then why why you decide the electronic music as a tool for you now? What's so special about electronic music?
So the analogy I like to use is playing acoustic and writing. It's like drawing with pencil, right? You can do so much with just drawing with pencil and jigging.
Mhm.
And then electronic music is like discovering paint and colors for the first time. And it was like this entirely new dimension and world that I could explore. So, you know, with the foundation of just being able to draw with pencil, it was like, oh, I can put color in this, I can add texture. And it just became this it was just like a new universe to sort of explore. And so it was, you know, I just fell in love with it, and it just one thing led to another, and it became what I focused on while always having the sort of songwriter background.
Yeah. So it brings many color at the end to your music.
Totally, it
Mhm.
becomes more than just, it's not just about the notes anymore, right? In classical music, you're trained on what's the theory, what are the notes, but then it's not. Now you have sounds too, and it's like if
Mhm.
you think about like Skrillex, it's like it's like
Yes, yes, right.
that's not a note, right? But it's a sound and it works, and it like it makes you feel something. And so it was just like, oh, there's this whole other world that I never experienced before, and so it's just so much fun.
You say you play the guitar to win someone's heart.
Hmm.
But do you still remember the occasion that triggered you to create your very first music, very first song?
I do. It was a song called "Why Georgia" by John Mayer, and there was something about it where it just captured the emotion that I was feeling, just the sense of looking for something new and feeling like there was like something missing. And I didn't really even understand why I liked it so much at the time, but I was just like, there's something special about this song. And it's not a super easy song to play. And so it took me a very, very long, it took me many years, but so I kind of went through and learned some easier songs and kind of taught myself and studied the songwriting of it and figured out and just listened to it over and over again. And it was this like, I wanted to make music that made me feel the way that song made me feel. And so that was just kind of it was always just searching for that feeling.
Mhm. John Mayer, like everyone likes him. Many artists love John Mayer,
He's amazing. I
Previously,
mean, he's
mhm, yes, he is. Well, talking back about your album, previously you also released the Don't Turn Back in 2024, right? And
yes.
then you're gonna release Cope. Basically, you add three new songs: Taste of Your Tongue, Amen, I Don't Miss You Anymore. That's quite quick timeline. And why? I mean, what's special about these three songs? Is it like a compliment?
So Cope, the album, it's always a intended as a full narrative from beginning to end. And uh, when I wrote it, I intended it as a story, and the story being starting from, you know, things are starting to go downhill, and you don't want to let go, and then you're sort of holding on to the moment to realize, accepting that it's over, and grieving for it, and then finding your way out of it. And so that it was always intended as that the Cope album is the full story. Um,
Mm.
and so I wanted to that you know that's always the way that it was intended to be. For you know, just the way the world of music works now is it's really difficult to just release 10 songs at once, because a lot of times it's just, you know, eight of the songs are just gonna, you know, never get the attention that they deserve. And so we wanted to give each of the songs their kind of moment to be heard, and then to add up and then kind of combine into this full story um, at the end. And so it was, you know, part of it was practical, just the reality of uh, giving each song its sort of time in the sun. But then it was always intended as this full piece to be, you know, intended to be listened from beginning to end.
Yeah, but that's quite interesting because after listening to the Don't Turn Back album and then move into the Cope, you also change the order of the song, right?
Yes,
And it really gives me the sequential plot. Like the Don't
yes.
Turn Back, I think it's related to the Leave the Ground and then Amens. And after that, the I Don't Miss You Anymore. It's just like the story, like the plot. And I like it so much. That's so great, Wu. And
Thank
then
you.
you
Yeah.
also,
No,
yeah.
I always listen to albums from beginning to end, and the
Hmm.
albums that felt like there was a journey were always much
Hmm.
more special to me than the ones that are just an assortment of songs.
Yeah, I like it. It's the way you're telling the story, the storytelling is really great. And then I also found two dictions, pouring rain and hit the ground. There are the dictions that are often found in the songs. Do you have a special memory about that, the pouring rain? Why you use that dictions often?
It's a great question. I haven't thought about that. Um,
Oh.
I think I always think in terms of images and scenes, and to me, rain, especially living in LA, I think the weather, it's always so, you know, it's always sunny. And then I think when it rains, it feels really impactful, and it feels like it kind of jolts you out of the regular mode that you're in. And there's just something about the setting I just feel like rain is such a powerful emotional experience, and it's such a powerful metaphor, right? Because on the one hand, it can be devastating, cause floods, it can be very destructive, but then on the other hand, it's also very cleansing, and the world feels new, right? And so while it's raining, it can feel miserable, but then, you know, the next day, beautiful clear skies, and the air is crisp and fresh, right? And I think it's uh, probably a subconscious metaphor for a lot of what I was going through. It's, you know, no, when you're in the rain, it feels like it's never going to end. And then once you get through, it's like, oh, I understand, you know, we needed this to have the green grass and have the flowers and have the plants.
Yeah, that's a pretty diction. Well, there's one song that captivates me. It's Amen. You know, the way you change the ambience in the beginning, like, how do I say I'm sorry? And then you repeat it again three times. And then finally you change the ambience when I'm not. that's so that's so great. Can you tell me more about the process of writing the song?
Yeah. So this is a song about a very bad breakup I had. And it was for a long time after I spent a lot of time thinking about what I did wrong, and this other person made me feel like it was my fault, and I felt it was kind of shattering to who I was as a person, um, and so I kind of felt I'd spent years and years trying to get over it, and then finally it was like, I'd be like, oh, should I reach out, or should I apologize, and then finally I was at a point where I was like, I didn't do anything wrong. So
Mm.
it was this idea of like, how do I get this out of my head? And, just this idea of, I wrote a line like, how do I say I'm sorry when I'm not, which I thought was a very good line. And then I was, then I just had this idea of like, okay, I want this beautiful chorus of like, how do I say I'm sorry? Just very stacked and a lot of harmonies, and then it disappears, and then it's like when I'm not, which is like, it's like a very surprising like kind of punchline, and then it goes into
Yes.
this different world, right? Because it's like,
Yes.
how do I say I'm sorry? It could be like, like it could be very romantic, or but
Mm.
then to just kind of have that like turn right away is
Yeah.
like, I thought it was really fun.
Wow. That is my favorite song. I really like that song. By the way,
Thank you.
what's the message or the feeling you hope your fans take away from your album? Cope.
I think the biggest thing is that no matter what you're going through,
Mm-hmm.
knowing that you're not alone. I think the hardest part for me when I struggled with depression and my mental health was feeling that no one understood, and that no, I couldn't explain, or that people would make fun of me or judge me for how I was feeling. And that was actually the most poisonous part about it, is feeling like you're isolated and feeling like no one understands, and that you feel bad about asking for help, even though you're going through this struggle, and you feel like you have to get through it yourself. And so what I want this album to be is for people that are going through that to hear the music and understand it's like, oh, it's not just me. It's not, this isn't I'm not a failure. I'm not all on my own. Like there's at least someone else who has been through this and understands, and knowing that you can get through it, and that it's just feeling like you have a connection. And I think because
Wow.
that's the most powerful thing, is
Mm-hmm.
just knowing that you're not alone, and that you can, there is a way out. And I think having this, that's what I hope, I can, the music gives people.
Great. That's really genuine and so beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Wu, for coming to Bingkai Suara podcast. Now I'm so happy to meet you.
So nice to meet you too. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye bye.